Stop for a moment, because what is being said is not for everyone. It is for you. You have been carrying a signal in your life that looked ordinary on the outside, but it has not felt ordinary inside your chest. Something has shifted, and you have been trying to explain it away as tiredness, timing, or coincidence. Yet the unease, the quiet pull, and the repeated sense that you are being watched over by a meaning you cannot fully name are not random. They are telling you that heaven has marked you in a way the crowd cannot easily see. Tonight, I am not speaking to the many. I am speaking to the one who has felt different and did not know why. You have been awake in places where others stayed asleep. You have been sensitive where others stayed numb. That sensitivity has cost you because it made ordinary noise feel louder and ordinary answers feel smaller. You may have asked in silence, why does this keep pressing on me? That question is the door into this message. By the end, you will recognize the sign that has been resting on your life, the pressure that tried to cover it, the reason the delay was never empty, and the way to return to what was being prepared in you all along. So stay with me, because the thing you have felt but not named is about to become clear. You know the feeling of waking up before the rest of the house, lying still in a room that looks the same but does not feel the same. The fan turns, the phone lights up, the water kettle clicks in the kitchen, and yet your body carries a silence that is heavier than the room itself. You reach for your phone, then stop, because even the messages on the screen seem too thin for what is moving in you. Your shoulders hold a weight that no one can see, and your breathing becomes shallow, as if your body is waiting for permission to understand. This is how a hidden calling often arrives, not with thunder, but with a strange pressure in the ordinary hour. You have learned how to function while carrying something sacred that has not been explained to you yet. That is why even a small conversation can leave you tired, and even a normal day can feel like it has an extra layer under it. There is a part of you that keeps saying, "This is not all there is." That sentence is not rebellion, it is recognition. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. It is the quiet refusal of your spirit to be satisfied with the surface. What you carry does not always look powerful to people, but it feels weighty to you because it is real. You have not been failing to fit in. You have been refusing to shrink to the size of a room that cannot hold your depth. The tension you feel is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that something in you has already begun to answer a larger voice. What is happening to you is not random, and it has not been wasted in the dark. There is a signal moving through your life that is meant to be recognized, not feared. It may be a correction, it may be a protection, it may be a preparation, but it is not empty. You have seen it in the way certain doors stayed still, while others around you opened and closed without explanation. You have seen it in the way your peace left the room before your mind could catch up. You have seen it in the way prayer became less about performance and more about survival. The mark on your life is not given to make you superior. It is given to make you attentive. That is the difference between noise and discernment. One scatters you, the other gathers you. Think of Joseph standing apart from his brothers, not because he was trying to be apart, but because his life was already carrying a dream he did not fully understand. Your own life has had that same strange shape. You were not always able to explain why you stayed sensitive, why certain places drained you, why certain words lingered longer than they should. The answer is not that you are fragile. The answer is that you are being shaped for a purpose that does not submit to common explanations. You are being readied for recognition before you are being readied for arrival. That is why the surface story has felt too small. What is being formed in you is deeper than the situation that first confused you. Hold that thought, because the pattern becomes clearer in the next layer. There is a reason the kitchen table, the bedroom corner, or the parked car has become a place of private reckoning for you. It is often in those quiet places that the weight becomes impossible to ignore, because there is nothing left to distract you from your own life. The spoon rests in the bowl, the laundry sits folded and untouched, the street outside keeps moving, and still your heart feels as if it is waiting for a different kind of news. You have smiled at people while carrying a deeper question underneath the smile. You have answered messages while feeling that your real answer was somewhere else. That split is exhausting. It leaves you with tired eyes and a body that knows more than your words are ready to say. Yet this hidden strain is also where the signal first becomes visible. In Scripture, the ones who were marked often did not look impressive at first glance, and that was part of the point. The pattern was never about appearance alone. It was about recognition in the right moment. You are being taught to notice what the world overlooks. That means the room that once felt normal can now feel too loud, and the conversation that once satisfied you can now feel too thin. Do not despise that discomfort. It is not always a problem to be fixed. Sometimes it is a mercy that prevents you from settling where you do not belong. The old version of you wanted easy explanations, because easy explanations reduce tension. But the new thing in you does not survive on easy explanations. It needs truth. It needs clarity. It needs the courage to say, I am being led, even here. You are different in a way that cannot be measured by applause, and that difference has weight. The deeper your awareness becomes, the more you feel what others can ignore. That is not because you are above them. It is because responsibility has started to settle into your life. You notice when words do not match the room. You notice when a smile covers fatigue. You notice when a pattern repeats itself and pretends to be new. That awareness has made you feel isolated at times, especially when the people around you keep moving casually through what feels serious to you. The couch, the sink, the evening light on the wall, even the sound of footsteps in the hallway can become reminders that you are carrying more inwardly than you can explain outwardly. And sometimes you think, why do I feel everything so deeply? That thought is not a flaw. It is the beginning of discernment. There is a difference between being overly emotional and being finely tuned. One is unsteady, the other is alert. One gets pulled by every wind, the other can sense the air before the storm. You have not been made to live numb. You have been made to notice what matters before it becomes obvious to everyone else. The cost of that gift is that you cannot pretend. The benefit is that you do not have to. What is being awakened in you is not a burden to bury. It is a trust to carry carefully. The trust has a shape, and the shape is beginning to show. What has tried to oppose you is rarely dramatic at first. It comes as distraction, as delay, as 1,000 small urgencies that keep you from noticing what is already speaking. It comes in the form of other people's expectations pressing on your day until your own inner voice goes quiet. It comes when you say yes too quickly, when you keep scrolling because silence feels too revealing, when you let the room decide your mood before you decide your direction. In that way, the opposition does not need to destroy you to weaken you. It only needs to keep you busy enough not to listen. You have felt that in the body as restlessness in your hands, tension behind the eyes, and that low hum of unease that follows you from task to task. The battle is not always against visible enemies. Sometimes it is against a rhythm that drains your clarity one small compromise at a time. That is why the old identity keeps trying to pull you back into being manageable, predictable, and easy to read. But you are no longer being asked to live by that old measure. The signal on your life resists hurried conclusions. It asks for patience, obedience, and a steadier kind of attention. If you ignore it, you do not become safer. You become noisier inside. If you receive it, you do not become louder. You become clearer. There is a cost either way. One keeps you scattered, the other gathers you. The next thing is not about collecting more information. It is about seeing the root that has been hiding under the pattern. The root is not that you are lost. The root is that you have been learning how to obey while still afraid of what obedience might cost. That fear does not always sound like fear. Sometimes it sounds like careful planning. Sometimes it sounds like, I will do it later. Sometimes it sounds like a need to keep every option open so you do not feel trapped by your own yes. In your body, that fear shows up as tightness in the chest when something clear is asked of you. In your mind, it shows up as 100 arguments that all circle around the same hesitation. In your spirit, it shows up as the sense that peace is near, but not yet fully received. You may have called that confusion, but much of it has been hesitation dressed as caution. That is a hard word, but it is a kind one because it names what can be healed. You are not being condemned for it. You are being revealed to yourself. The difference matters. A person who thinks they are condemned hides. A person who realizes they are being trained begins to breathe differently. The room does not change, but the posture inside the room does. The old survival pattern says, stay small and stay safe. The new voice says, stay honest and stay available. One protects an identity built on fear. The other protects a future built on trust. You can feel the tension between them every time you sit alone and know you cannot keep postponing what has already been placed in front of you. This is where the signal grows sharper. It is asking you not to perform certainty, but to practice surrender. Your mind has tried to explain the ache away, but your body keeps telling the truth before your explanations catch up. There are moments when your thoughts race and your chest feels crowded, and there are other moments when everything becomes still and you know, without needing proof, that something is being clarified. That difference matters. Anxiety pushes you into many words. Discernment often leaves you with a quiet, steady knowing. You have felt both. You have felt the noise of fear, and you have felt the sober clarity that comes when a thing is being shown rather than imagined. It is not always easy to tell them apart in the moment, especially when you are tired, and especially when the night is long. But discernment does not need to shout to be real. It often arrives like a hand on the shoulder, firm but calm. Anxiety wants you to control the outcome. Discernment asks you to respond faithfully to what is already true. The body knows the difference before the mouth can explain it. That is why your shoulders fall when truth lands, and why your breathing becomes shallow when you try to force what is not ready. You do not have to punish yourself for that. You only have to listen more honestly. There is a quiet wisdom in the body that the world often ignores. It is one of the ways the signal is translated into daily life, and once you begin to hear it, you cannot unhear it. The next step is not to become suspicious of everything. It is to become faithful to the things that keep repeating with peace. Some rooms help you hear clearly, and some rooms keep asking you to forget yourself. Some conversations leave you lighter, and some leave you carrying a weight that was never yours to begin with. You already know this, because your body tells the truth the moment you walk away. There are people who celebrate your progress in words, but resist it in atmosphere. There are places where your spirit softens, and there are places where it tightens just to survive the visit. That does not mean you must judge everyone around you. It means you must discern what is draining you. Discernment is not suspicion, it is stewardship. It is the quiet skill of noticing what feeds peace and what erodes it. You may have tried to explain away your discomfort so you would not disappoint anyone, but the cost of constant accommodation is exhaustion. The old pattern says you must stay available to everything. The new pattern says you must stay faithful to what has been entrusted to you. Those are not the same thing. One makes you porous, the other makes you protected. You are learning that not every invitation deserves a yes, and not every familiar voice deserves access. That is not bitterness, that is maturity. There is a holiness in boundaries when they are born from obedience rather than fear. The signal on your life keeps pointing you toward that holiness. It is showing you where you have given away too much of your inner ground. It is also showing you that reclaiming it will cost you the comfort of being understood by everyone. Yet what you gain is clarity, and clarity is not a small thing. It is a mercy that preserves the next season. The opposition has been clever because it rarely attacks your faith directly. It fills your day with lesser urgencies, then calls that productivity. It keeps you busy enough to miss the deeper question, then calls that responsibility. It makes you feel guilty for slowing down long enough to hear your own spirit. That is how distraction works when it wants to look respectable. The email, the errand, the conversation, the unfinished task, the scrolling, the second thought, the urge to explain yourself again, all of it can become a net if you never step back. You have felt that net in your own body. You sit down and your mind stands up. You try to rest and your inner voice starts compiling unfinished business. You try to pray and your mind brings a dozen smaller matters to the front. It is not always that you are lazy. Often it is that your attention has been under pressure for too long. The old voice says, keep moving, and you will not feel the weight. The truer voice says, slow down, and you will recognize what is speaking. That is the strategy of the opposition, not always to destroy your direction, but to blur it. Yet what is being revealed now is stronger than blur. You are becoming able to see the difference between what is urgent and what is important. You are also learning that the same thing can be delayed without being denied. That lesson matters because it will keep you from mistaking silence for absence. The deeper layer is coming into view now, and it has been under your feet for a long time. There comes a moment when you stop negotiating with what your spirit already knows. You stop making bargains with delay. You stop calling confusion a mystery when it is actually a refusal to face what has been clarified. That moment does not always feel dramatic. Sometimes it feels like a quiet decision made at the edge of a sink, or while standing near the window at night, or with one hand still on the phone and the other hand finally letting go. But once it happens, something inside you changes shape. You no longer ask whether the signal is real. You ask what it requires of you. That is the threshold. You may still feel fear, but fear no longer gets to write the interpretation. You may still feel uncertainty, but uncertainty no longer gets to define the direction. The old voice wants you to keep circling the same question until you are too tired to move. The new voice says, you have seen enough. That is why the next part of this message must move from explanation into image, because some truths are carried better when they are seen. Keep that threshold in mind. Do not rush past it. The thing in you that has been waiting is not asking for perfection. It is asking for agreement, and agreement starts to deepen when the image becomes unmistakable. There is a lantern inside this message, and it has been covered for too long. You have lived as if the light had to prove itself by shining harder, but hidden light does not need to perform. It only needs the cover lifted at the right time. That is what your life has felt like, something precious kept under a cloth, not because it was absent, but because it was being preserved. You may not have had the language for that before, but you felt it in the way your energy changed around certain people and in the way your peace guarded itself in certain rooms. The lamp was there even when the room stayed dim. The covered flame did not disappear. It waited. That is why the delay in your life has not been wasted. It has been a kind of protection, a season of hidden burn before public clarity. You have wanted faster answers, but faster is not always truer. You have wanted immediate recognition, but recognition without readiness can burn what it was meant to reveal. The cover was not punishment. It was mercy. There are moments when God keeps a light hidden until the wind around it changes. That is what has been happening to you. The light was not denied. It was guarded, and because it was guarded, it survived the noise that would have shaken it early. You may have thought you were being overlooked, but you were actually being held. Hold that image carefully. The lantern is not gone. It is only waiting for the right hand, the right moment, and the right surrender. For a long time you have felt as if the room around you was too dim to trust what you knew inside. The covered lantern becomes a quiet picture of that feeling. The glass is there, the wick is there, the oil is there, and still the cloth keeps the light from explaining itself too soon. You know what that is like when you're sitting in a car after a long day, watching the dashboard glow, while your mind keeps reviewing every decision, every delay, every word you wished you had said differently. The light is real, but it is restrained. So is your life. There are seasons where restraint is not loss, it is discipline. That discipline can feel lonely because it does not impress anyone. It does not advertise itself. It does not shout, yet it protects the flame from the wrong air. You may have been tempted to interpret restraint as rejection. That is the old reading. The newer reading is that the light is being preserved because it still has a place to illuminate. The tension lies in the waiting. The old self wants immediate vindication. The truer self wants lasting clarity. Those are not enemies, but they are not the same. If you try to tear the cover off too soon, you risk exposing what has not yet been steadied. If you trust the process, the flame remains intact. That is why the silence around you has felt so charged. It has not been empty. It has been guarding the future, and the future is not abstract. It is waiting for your readiness to match your recognition. Keep watching the lantern, because the next movement matters. The thing about a covered lantern is that people passing by can miss it completely, while the one who carries it feels every ounce of its weight. You have felt that weight in your hands, in your decisions, and in the tired patience of waiting for timing you could not control. The lantern does not ask to be admired, it asks to be carried faithfully. That is what your life has required in this season. You have had to keep moving while not fully explaining what you were moving with. You have had to keep speaking while not yet fully seeing. You have had to keep trusting while the cover remained in place. That can make the heart restless, especially when others seem to move without the same inner friction. But the friction is not always resistance to you. Sometimes it is resistance to premature exposure. The light under cover is still working. It is shaping the room even before the room realizes it. That is the hidden mercy in your delay. It has been doing more than withholding. It has been refining. The old interpretation says, if it is real, it should be obvious by now. The truer interpretation says, if it is sacred, it may be protected until the right opening comes. You need that distinction because it will keep you from discarding what was only hidden, not absent. When the cover finally moves, you will understand why it could not be forced. The revelation will not feel like hype. It will feel like arrival. Keep that expectation gentle and firm. The lantern is teaching you how to wait without surrendering the flame. If even one of those signs landed inside you, if your shoulders loosened at any point while I was speaking, type 888 in the comments. That number is not magic. It is a quiet sign of overflow, a simple agreement that the light is being recognized. It is the smallest way of saying, I hear it and I am not resisting it. And take a breath with me and let that recognition settle where your doubt has been trying to live. Type 888, then come back to me. The lantern is still here, and the fact that you can name it means you are no longer standing in the dark by accident. You are standing at the edge of understanding. That matters because the next movement is not about more noise. It is about letting the cover loosen in a way that your spirit can receive. And once you return, the next layer will show you how the light was being guarded, not buried. What has been underneath all of this is not only a signal, but a sealed trust. The lantern has been speaking to you in the language of restraint, and that means the next question is not whether you have light, but what has been protecting it. You have likely called that protection delay, disappointment, or silence, because those are the words the mind reaches for when the meaning is still forming. Yet the deeper truth is that some things are held back so they can be carried forward intact. The covered lantern is teaching you that not every hidden season is a failure. Some hidden seasons are consecration. You know this because you have walked through days where the outer life kept moving, but the inner life asked for stillness. The body felt the cost of that stillness. The chest tightened, the eyes grew weary, and the hands wanted answers before they were ready. But the spirit has been more patient than the body, and that patience is now becoming visible. The old pattern demanded immediate proof. The new pattern accepts process. That is why you cannot live by the speed of the crowd anymore. The crowd wants spectacle, you need substance. The crowd wants the flame displayed, you need the flame preserved. There is no shame in that difference. It is the difference between being looked at and being kept. The lantern still stands between those two realities, and the truth of your life is moving you from one to the other. The root of your fatigue has often been the effort of carrying something sacred in a place that wanted it cheapened. You have been in conversations where your spirit contracted because the room did not know how to hold depth. You have been in moments where you smiled while inside you were guarding a light nobody could see. That guarding has cost you energy. It is why you have sometimes felt more tired after being understood by no one than after the work itself. The lantern image makes that plain. A flame under cloth does not lose its worth because it is hidden, but the one holding it must still protect it from wind, careless hands, and premature exposure. That is what you have been doing, protecting what was not yet ready to be public. And because of that, you have learned discernment by necessity. You can now feel when something belongs near you and when it does not. You can feel when a conversation feeds the flame and when it steals oxygen. That sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a form of stewardship. The world may call it overthinking. Heaven may call it readiness. The difference is everything. One keeps you doubting yourself. The other keeps you faithful to what has been entrusted to you. You do not need to rush the uncovering. You need to honor the preservation. The lantern is not fading. It is maturing. The right moment will not feel forced. It will feel clear. You have noticed that some truths become heavier before they become useful. The covered lantern is like that. At first it feels like a burden because you can sense there is light there, but you cannot yet give it the full freedom you want. Then, slowly, you realize that the burden is also training. It teaches you how to wait without panic, how to carry without boasting, how to trust without forcing a timeline. Those are not small lessons. They reshape the inside of a person. They also expose the old survival habit of proving everything too soon. The old habit says, if I cannot explain it now, maybe it is not real. The new habit says, If I can feel its weight, I should honor its timing. That shift is what protects your future. It keeps you from handing sacred things to hurried hands. It keeps you from opening the cloth before the flame can breathe. You may not like the slowness, but you will recognize its wisdom later. The cost of ignoring this is not merely confusion. It is the risk of exposing something before it has been anchored. The cost of receiving it is patience, and patience can feel like loss until it reveals itself as formation. There is a line between those two readings, and you are learning to stand on it with more steadiness than before. The lantern has not left you alone in the dark. It has been teaching you how to carry light. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.